What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here. Album of the Week. This is the series where we review albums submitted to us by our patrons. This week, we are reviewing something a little bit different. It's a musical. It's also a double album. We are talking about the soundtrack to Jesus Christ Superstar, specifically the version from 1970 featuring Ian Gillan and also Murray Head. I've never seen Jesus Christ Superstar. My dad had this on vinyl, and I don't think I ever listened to it in full. I've heard bits of it, like I recognize the title track and a couple things from it, but yeah, this is pretty much brand new.
Yeah, the only thing I knew from Jesus Christ Superstar was that one scene in Along Came Polly. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie, but it's hilarious. Philip Seymour Hoffman is in the play, and they're doing the "What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening." And he bursts in as Jesus, and I always thought that was a parody. I just thought I was like, "Ha, Philip Seymour Hoffman's being hilarious." Ben Stiller, great writer. So I was a little taken aback when what song two came on as or song three on this album, and that was real, and that was weird for me. But other than that, no, I've never heard anything from this album. I knew it was Andrew Lloyd Webber. I knew it's Tim Rice, and it's their, you know, one of their first big hits. But yeah, I was unprepared completely for all this.
Yeah, so this they had already done Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at this point, and I guess I read a little bit about it. Someone wanted them to do the story of Jesus as like a follow-up to that, and Andrew Lloyd Webber didn't want to do it because he thought it was like too obvious and too literal, but eventually I think it was Tim Rice came to him with the idea of doing it from the point of view of Judas, which got him into it. And also inspired by the Bob Dylan lyric, "You'll have to decide if Judas Iscariot had God on his side from God on our side," right? Good playing. I think the band on this is awesome. You've got a good chunk of Joe Cocker's band, Henry McCulloch, Neil Hubbard, Alan Spencer, and Bruce Rowland. Henry McCulloch, of course, would go on to play in Wings for a bit. And it was a huge hit too. It topped the Billboard 200 albums twice, and it topped the year-end list even ahead of Tapestry. So pretty big. You want to say anything else before we get into the details?
No, not really, but it is rather weird to hear Ian Gillan and Murray Head singing on an album like this. It's just a very disconcerting kind of experience. So yes, it is a very odd album. You have Ian Gillan, Deep Purple, you have Murray Head, who people probably know from One Night in Bangkok from 1984. He was also in Chess, which I think Tim Rice was involved in, as well as the ABBA Boys. So people are probably familiar with both of those guys. And it's an interesting tale because it is, Jesus Christ's crucifixion and resurrection through Judas's eyes. And at some point, spoiler, the ghost of Judas. But I think overall the play, the musical is well structured. It's pretty well written. I'm not like the biggest Andrew Lloyd Webber fan, but I think in general they do a good job of doing a concept album and actually having it make sense. It's actually pretty easy to follow the story, which is a rarity for any type of album like this. But I think it's good there. I like the mix of like psychedelic rock, some Baroque, late 60s pop. It's right in my wheelhouse as far as that goes. I like many of the songs. I think it has a lot of good things about it. It has significant problems, I think, but the good stuff is I think Murray Head is an incredible Judas. I think his vocal performance, for me, is the highlight of the whole darn album. I think he outdoes Ian Gillan. His Jesus is a little too like, I don't know, it's a little too like rocker, surfer, and not enough like weight on the shoulders of, the Son of God. I don't quite get the weightiness of the performance I think that is required from Jesus and Ian Gillan's vocals. I think Murray had, you can hear the anger and the hurt and the longing and the confusion in his vocal performance. I love the second song in the album, Heaven on Their Minds. I think it's the highlight of the whole thing. His vocal performance is awesome. It's a great song. And I think one of the problems I have is there's too many cooks in this album. There's too many vocalists that I don't care for as much. Like I would just like Murray Head on the whole thing with maybe a couple of Ian Gillan and an Yvonne Elliman here or there. But you got Victor Brox as Caiaphas and High Priest. You got Barry Dennen as Pontius Pilate. There's some supporting players, Paul Davis, Mike Diabo, John Gustafson, Brian Keith, and none of their vocal performances just really do it for me. I really just want to hear Murray Head and Yvonne and Ian Gillan a little bit. So you have like kind of the asides with King Herod and Peter and some other bit characters. They're a little cheesy. I don't get the emotion and the drama nearly as much. But I do like the Yvonne Elliman, who's Mary Magdalene, her couple songs. Everything's all right. I don't know how to love him. Both really good. I like the main themes that they'll usually appear in a big song and then you'll hear them again throughout the album. But for me, like it just goes on a little too long. There's a little too much repetition in those themes. They come back, but they're usually in a lesser version. I think Heaven on Their Minds, the What's the Buzz, Strange Thing, Mystifying, Everything's All Right, This Jesus Must Die. That first side is pretty great. And side two is pretty strong. And then you get to side three, and it's going through the story, and it's more story than song. And you're just starting to be like, okay, well, let's kill this guy. And you get to side four, and then finally you get Superstar, which is another show-stopping performance. But then you get two more songs that kind of unnecessary. It should have just ended with Superstar. That's what people are here for. It's another Murray Head. He kills it again. He's incredible on this album, but I think it's a little too long. It's not quite enough actual songs to get through the whole thing. But I think the songs that are fully fleshed out are pretty great, and the performances are pretty great. So I'm at 4 stars, not like a high 4 stars, but a solid 4 stars for this. I think it's definitely listenable and definitely worth listening to.
All right, yeah, I think I mostly agree with you. I even have some of the exact same notes, especially about like the themes popping up later, like especially on the second half, and even like as like the second half of the second half, side four. The themes just keep coming back. It's like I've heard this. I'm ready to be done. This is I'm at like minute 80, and how do I need to hear this again? Yeah, I think it goes on too long, and it's too repetitive. Musically, I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot of like the rhythm section, I think is great. The bass and drums are really cool throughout. Some great singing, like you said. I think Murray Head's really good throughout. Ian Gillan at times is excellent. There's like an urban legend that he did all his vocals for this in like 3 hours. I don't know if that's true or not, but there are moments when it feels like it's Gethsemane. Is that the name of the? I don't know how to say it, but
Gethys Main, I think.
Gethsemane.
Maybe.
There's a stretch in the beginning of that before he really gets into it where he is so pitchy. He's got some, there's like two notes like almost back to back that are like, oh man, they didn't want to redo that. So yeah, there's some pitchy moments and like times when he doesn't sound that good, but then when he's up in his higher register and kind of wailing, he sounds like Ian Gillan, and it's pretty cool. I think a big problem for me is that a lot of it is just like story. So the melodies aren't that strong because they're so wordy and they're putting forth like so much of the story. The parts that are catchy are like kind of annoying. So like you were talking about what's the buzz? I think that's completely just silly and ridiculous. There's some other stuff too, like Hosanna I didn't like very much. But the flip side of that, I Heaven on Their Minds probably my favorite track as well. I think it's really cool, got some great vocals. Simon Zelotes for Jerusalem, I think is pretty cool. Good rocking rhythm section on that one, and the group backing vocals sound really cool. The Temple, I think, is another highlight with some good Ian Gillan screeching on it. So yeah, I'm right in line with you. I think if it was like half as long or like 75% as long. And a couple of the issues were solved with some of like the annoying bits taken out and fix some of the bad singing. It'd be pretty cool. I think there's a lot to like about it, but I also think it's pretty far from perfect. So I'm at 3.5. I think it's good. I enjoyed listening to it. I'm glad I listened to it finally. As a big Deep Purple fan, I feel like it's something I should have heard by now, but it's good.
Yeah, it's good, but it's not perfect, and it needs a little, I don't know, they should just like get rid of the whole story thing and just like make like a greatest hits of the songs on this album. Just like, 7, 8 songs, 40 minutes. Perfect.
All right, let us know what you think of this record. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Check the video description for Patreon if you'd like to possibly submit a record. The wait list is long, but you can do that. And you can also just hang out with us on the Discord and get all the other Patreon perks as well. So yeah, check it out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.